This is the Paltalk News Network.
The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online, a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you're encouraged to post your comments, whether you agree with yours truly or not. No retribution. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we're syndicated to an additional 12 million households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. I welcome you to the show, and I recommend to you that you go to the Paltalk News Network.com website to read about things that you may or may not see, hear, or read in the mainstream media. I am live to you from Detroit. Some of you who were here earlier probably saw me come in on Jay Meredith's nickname as we were tooling along the highway to get back here to do the show, although I guess we could have, Jay, done it from your car because we had a real good signal as we were driving along, as luck would have it. We went to a location where we were supposed to do the show today, and we were told that the show was today from that location, and they were told that it was tomorrow. So we will not be talking about what we were going to be talking about today. So I asked before the show started, and Boaz followed up, to come up with some topics, and a bunch of you came up with topics. So I'm going to go to each of you who came up with a topic and give you an opportunity to bring that issue up, and we are going to discuss it. Yes, I know it's the lazy talk show host way of doing things. Boaz, you wanted to talk about Iran.
Well, I have two quick topics I want to talk about. One is Iran, and the other one is about buying a new car in these days and times. But I'll start with Iran first. We're coming up on an important date, Gary, and that is February 11th of the year 1979, going back to the Iran Revolution. And this seems to be a very significant date now in Iran, with the building discontent of the people of Iran with the government of Iran right now. And there's a lot of information and buzz going on right now on the internet, on Facebook, on Twitter, all the different social networks on the internet that are talking about something big that may happen in Iran, possibly. And then again, this is all speculation at this point. There's no proof to prove it, but possibly an overthrow or an attempted coup of the current Iranian regime. And we all know that if something like that actually happens, we know it's all going to lead to another more bloodshed in the streets, but on a much larger magnitude than we saw after the elections in Iran. So we have to wait and see what happens with that one, Gary. The other
before you get on to the next subject, Boaz, if folks go to the Paltalk News Network site, you will see that there's an analysis of the situation in Iran and a suggestion by our own Sharir Shahabi that they ought not to be talking about, and of course it's too late, it's been done, a buildup of Patriot missiles in the Persian Gulf, the United States equipping its allies in the Persian Gulf in case the Iranians become aggressive toward those nations. He believes that the United States should be firmly working down the path of diplomacy and give the movement to which you just referred ample opportunity to do whatever it's going to do next week when this anniversary occurs, or in 2 weeks when this anniversary occurs. Wonder what you thought about that.
Well, again, Gary, it's hard to say really what's going to happen. I personally believe that something may happen here. I think the people of Iran are pretty much fed up with the inconsistencies, the lies, and the way the Iranian government today is presenting Iran as a whole to the world. I'm hopeful that something will happen, Gary. I mean, I don't want to see any bloodshed any more than you do, but we all know that, when it comes to overthrowing governments and change of regimes by force, that does not happen without bloodshed. There's always there's always, God forbid, but tanks in the streets and whatnot, which is something that we could possibly see if this actually happens. The other issue I wanted to talk about.
But boys, Iran is not the United States of America, where everybody is armed practically. How are the people going to overthrow the government there?
Well, Gary, I've been reading some of the Twitters and some of the blogs on the internet with regards to this possible, excuse me, with this possible coup, and there are indications that the part of the Iranian army would actually be involved in this on the side of the people. And this is where, when we talk about where the weapons are going to come from, this is where it possibly may come from. But again, it's speculation. If the showdown is hundreds of thousands of unarmed Iranian civilians against the Iranian regime, if that's how it's going to come down, I dare say that the coup would be unsuccessful and a lot of people would get killed. But the Iranians are not stupid people, Gary, and they're aware of this. And they have learned their lesson. If you think about it, Gary, after the Iranian elections, if you think about it, they learned their lesson. They went out in the streets and they protested, and they got shot at. They got run over by military vehicles. Even the video that you presented on one of our shows a couple of weeks ago showed what the Iranian regime will do to people that go out and protest against the government. So the Iranians have learned their lesson, I think, in this issue. And if they're going to go out in masses, and with an attempt to overthrow the government, Gary, I think that they're well advised and well wise enough to know that doing it just with megaphones is not going to cut it. They're going to have to do it with rifles, and they're going to have to do it with live fire. So that's why there's a lot of buzz and a lot of talk about it and a lot of worry about it too.
Tell me about buying a new car, Boaz.
Yeah, well, this is my third attempt to try to tell you about it, and this is what I'm really excited about. Who cares about Iran? I'm ready to listen. I'm ready to buy a new car, Gary. I'm just kidding about that. I care about the Iranian people. I'm ready to buy a new car, Gary. Okay, and I started doing some research. I called, I looked around. First, I researched on the internet to see what's available. What I particularly want is a minivan. But a good sized minivan that'll sit 6 to 7 people, that you can fold the seats down and use it as cargo space with all the bells and whistles and all that stuff. So I